Namaste, kia ora, and good day, friends. My name is Parasher. I'm the editor of the Indian News. And it's really nice to be back and talking to you after a gap of a few months. Friends, today we have with us one of the most popular faces in the political arena of New Zealand. And his name is David Seymour. He's the leader of Association of Consumer and Taxpayers Party, popularly known as ACT Party. Welcome to the Indian News, and good afternoon. How are you today, David?
Oh, well, very well, and not many people know that ACT stands for the Association of Consumers and Taxpayers, so if you're ever in a pub quiz, that could be very useful.
Wonderful, yeah. Now, David, I would want to start with congratulating you, your party, for completing 25 years. For the benefit of our viewers, would you like to tell us a little bit about your journey so far?
Well, I started knocking on people's doors in the Epsom electorate, and ACT had a pretty difficult time, so I had to restore our credibility, I guess. So I knocked on people's doors and I just said, look, I'd like to be your MP. What are the important issues for you? And ever since then, no matter who's in front of me at any given time, what's important is what they think, and because everyone has a share in this country's future, and if I can, understand what is driving them, what their problems are, and then try and feed back a solution that fits within ACT's philosophy. And our philosophy is based on the simple idea that people are responsible for themselves, but also they can make a positive difference in their own lives. And I think that's the difference with our political opponents, is that sometimes they think that who you are is more important than what you do.
Sure. Now, David, how do you rate the handling of the COVID crisis and subsequently the handling of the economy by the Jacinda government in past almost 2 years' time?
Well, I think the handling of the COVID crisis is getting progressively worse. In the start, you say, well, the Prime Minister did well, she communicated clearly, she persuaded everyone that it was a good deal for going home for 7 weeks, and people actually did it. And then we achieved something that really no other country did, which was zero COVID for a long period. That was pretty amazing. But of course, that was the easy bit. The hard part was, how would we safely reconnect with the rest of the world? How would we have families reconnected if they had family offshore? How would businesses get people coming from offshore to work? How would New Zealand business people go offshore to rebuild connections and sell our goods and services to people? That reconnecting part, that was the really hard part. And that's where I don't think they've done so well. So one really obvious thing is, why not get more ICU capacity? There were easy things they could have done, like open up the border or have some new arrangements to get nurses in. They made an exception to get the Wiggles in, but what about nurses? There were a lot of people who said, look, we should be using better technology, saliva testing, rapid antigen testing. These kinds of things just haven't really been done. And when we finally did get an outbreak here, we just weren't ready, and businesses paid the price. New Zealanders can see what they're paying now when they go to the supermarket, they go to the petrol station, they buy a coffee, they pay their rent, their mortgage, their interest rates are going up. And all of those costs are because the government was so blasé that they really just splashed the cash. Low interest rates, lots of government borrowing. That made it easy for them to get through COVID, but we're now starting to feel those costs of COVID. So look, I would say, well at first, but by the time you allow for the isolation of New Zealand, the money printing, the borrowing, and the mountain of debt and the rising prices that we see now, you'd have to say that they haven't done as good a job as they could have.
David, despite of this mismanagement or so-called mishandling of Jacinda government, I'm sure you are aware Prime Minister Jacinda has been named in the Forbes list of world's most powerful women in 21. What's your comment about it? She's ranked quite highly at number 34.
Well, it's always nice to see a New Zealander doing well overseas. And Jacinda Ardern, I've known her for a decade. She has some extraordinary qualities. I think she's a genuinely kind person. I think she genuinely wants to help every person that she meets. And she projects a fabulous image, which I'm sure people overseas are very aware of, because she's good at projecting. My question is this: what are the outcomes for the people trying to live under her government in New Zealand? Have we done a good job of managing COVID? in recent times? I would say no. Have we made it easier to build homes so the next generation has a place to live? I would say that the housing market's got worse for younger New Zealanders. Do we have attractive jobs and people getting valuable skills for the 21st century in education? I would say that all of those outcomes for the people actually living here are probably not as good as people overseas imagine. And you often hear this, Kiwis go overseas and they say, oh, you're so lucky having your Prime Minister. Yep. And people from New Zealand say, well, look, there are good things about her, but we've got problems just like every other country, and she's not necessarily more successful at solving them.
So, David, you want to say that image is not for real?
I think the image is perhaps real and that she is a really nice person who cares a lot, but you've also got to go beyond the image and ask what the outcome is. And I would say by any serious measures, New Zealanders are finding things are actually getting worse under her government.
Now, David, do you see a spike of infection numbers once the Auckland borders open on 15th of December?
Look, I don't know. I'm looking at the numbers and they're actually trending down. Now, I don't know why that is. It may be that we've reached a high enough vaccination level. That could be very good. I don't know if it's because the summer weather means people spend less time inside together. Yeah. People don't have colds and coughs and they don't spread the virus as easily. It may be that we're just getting lucky at the moment. But I keep a little bit of optimism that actually this summer in COVID is not going to be as bad. I could be wrong and we should be prepared for that. But I'm a little bit optimistic about it right now.
Okay, now, David, I'm sure there's some announcement by some EVs and Maori leaders for blocking the roads for the tourists or the visitors going around in the Northland. What's your take about it?
Well, it's a serious issue. I'll say it 3 times because this issue is about who directs the police and who makes the rules in New Zealand. As I believe, if there's a public health crisis, then the government takes official advice, it makes its decision, and the police enforce the rules. That's how it should go. Now, I don't always agree with the government's decisions. Sometimes I think they take the wrong advice, but I'll still follow the rules. What seems to be happening now is that a very small minority of Northland iwi, a very small minority of people, so people like Hone Harawira, have said, we've decided to form the Tai Tokerau Border Control Network, or whatever they call themselves. We're going to block the roads and check people moving around. And I just say no. I have the right to move around New Zealand. It's not up to somebody else to decide that they're controlling the borders. If Ashley Bloomfield and the government say the official policy is this is what you have to do, fine. But it's not up to them to take the law into their own hands.
So do you anticipate any possible interruption in coming days?
Well, it's going to be very, very difficult because how many people are going to stop for somebody who is, in my view, not legitimate? Of course, the Parliament has passed a law saying, well, they can do it if there's a police officer, there as an enforcement, a supervisor. But is that really the way it works? I mean, is it being done because the police needed help, or is it being done because these people took the law into their own hands and the police are there to babysit them?
Sure. Now, David, until not too long back, the general perception about the ACT Party was not of pro-migrant. Just want to know from you how successful you have been in changing that perception.
Yeah, well, I think we're in a very good position with a lot to offer. I mean, there's a few things. First of all, as a local MP, I've always been keen to help migrants with problems around immigration. In fact, I probably have more problems with the Immigration New Zealand than any other government department, and we have some success in solving them. In our electorate office, we put a lot of work into. Sure. Second of all, ACT's view is that immigration is New Zealand's heritage. People from all walks of life and all over the planet have come here with one thing in common. They all want to give up everything they've known to give their kids a better tomorrow. And our philosophy is that your efforts in life should make a difference, that if you earn more, you shouldn't be punished harder, you should keep more and actually be able to give your kids a better tomorrow. That's what immigration is about. We see it as an entrepreneurial activity, taking a risk to get a better reward. So philosophically, we're very much in tune with it. And the final thing I would say is that ACT believes in a New Zealand identity that's inclusive. We can't go about dividing New Zealand into different categories of people. That's a recipe for disaster wherever it's been tried in the world. we believe that New Zealand should be fairer for all.
Okay, now my next question is, there is a small section of anti-vaxxers who are opposed to any kind of vaccination or medication. And also, why do you support the relaxation in government's no jab, no job policy, while we all know the vaccination is the only mode of defense for us as of now?
So if you start from my personal perspective, I mean, I'm really thrilled to have been vaccinated twice. This coming weekend, I'm actually booked in to get vaccinated again, get my booster.
Booster?
Yeah. And part of the reason is I love science. I think what has been done with mRNA is an absolute scientific miracle, and it shows how rapidly a free society can use its resources and creativity to solve a problem. So all of that is a big tick. The next question is, what do you do in society when people disagree? One option is always for the government to just force one position on people. The other is for the government to provide a set of rules and let people make their own decisions. X view is it's always better to have freedom and let people make their own choices. If a business wants to be vaccine only, I'll be the last person to be standing there defending that even after everyone else gives up. I'm going to be the first person in the morning to defend it and the last person in the evening to defend a business owner's right to do what they want on their property. If they want to be all vax, good on them. If they want to be no vax, that's their choice. I wouldn't support it, but that's their choice. The question is it right for the government to say a whole sector has to be, whether even if some people don't want to be? And I think that's a mistake.
Okay, now question that may please you. If we go by the recent poll surveys, as we were just discussing, a party surely is going to be the kingmaker in next elections, unless the change of guards at national does some miracle. Am I now possibly talking to the future Prime Minister of the New Zealand?
Look, I've never been focused on positions, so one of the things I'm most proud of is the End of Life Choice Act. You know, that choice of assisted dying, that people can choose how they go and when they go. Not everyone wants it, but some people really do, and they should have the choice. The thing is, I did that without being a minister. I actually turned down being a minister so I could run a private member's bill. So sometimes you don't need to be promoted to a high position to get results. That's the first thing. If people want me to serve as the Prime Minister of New Zealand, well, yes, I would do that. But at this point, the polls don't suggest that's going to happen. What they do suggest is that more and more people want ACT's voice and influence in Parliament because we listen and we propose constructive solutions, and we also stop and hold accountable some of the sillier stuff that governments get up to.
Great. On this note, what's your message for the people of New Zealand on Christmas? And if I can ask you a personal question, how you plan to spend your Christmas holidays?
Yeah, of course. Look, my message is that we've faced some real challenges. New Zealand remains the greatest country on earth, but we've been really let down. Just simple things. We're opening the border so Kiwis can come home on January the 16th, but it's not safe for them to come home for Christmas. It doesn't make any sense. So we've got to do better with our governing policy. What I'm personally going to do for Christmas is my brother's just moved to Hamilton and he's decided he wants to have Christmas. So we'll be there with my nephew and burgeoning number of nieces. So I'm really looking forward to that.
That's really great. On that note, thank you very much, David, for your time.
Thank you.
And on behalf of the Indian News team, I wish you and your team a Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year.
No worries. What a pleasure.
Thank you.